Yeah, we seem to think that we're only valuable as people if we're constantly doing something.
Yes. Yes.
And something that others can see. It can't just be something that is to yours. It has to
Yes.
Right?
be something that the world, the external world can look
Yes.
at you and go, oh, look at her. She's busy. Oh, look at him. He's so
Oh,
successful. Oh,
right.
look at,
Right.
it's like, yeah, do you have 20 minutes of time in your day? No, sorry, not successful in my book. Like that's not how this looks,
Right?
Right. Yeah, you're going to be a story one day, not the kind that you want to be, where your story won't be written. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's sad, right? There's a righteousness in perceived productivity.
Is staying busy your default? Do you wish you had more time? On today's episode of That's a Great Point, Alina, Michelle, and I are discussing time management. How productive do we need to be to have a good life? We argue that life is more than just getting things done. In this episode, we discuss priorities, shifting our focus to meaningful and productive uses of time rather than just staying busy, procrastination, habit stacking, eating frogs, and much more. We had some minor malfunctions with Alina's video that are fixed partway through the episode. The audio is fully intact. As always, if you find our content helpful, please share it with somebody you love. Thanks for playing along. Enjoy. Welcome to That's a Great Point, the attitude adjustment for your soul, where co-hosts Alina Doran, Michelle Albers, and Lee Smart discuss deep topics around a life well lived. Let's start the show.
Lee wet his hair just for us. Thank you.
Is that
So
a thing?
that's very, very typical of when you go outside in Louisiana. It takes all of seconds and you become wet, and not in a good way.
That's funny.
So, yeah, last night, apparently there were some things that needed to be said between Tanya and I. Tried to go to bed and we just couldn't. So we kept trying to go to bed and we'd start talking a little while. We'd try to go to bed, start talking a little while. We ended up staying up until after 2 o'clock, just talking, sorting some stuff out. And then still got up this morning and I went and did my morning fasted cardio. So that I had to take a shower after that. It was imperative. I didn't want y'all to smell me.
I was going to say, it's a good thing we don't have smell-o-vision. But that
Fresh as a daisy now.
sounds romantic. The staying up till 2 a.m. talking. Lovely.
I don't know. Most of the time, 2 o'clock in the morning conversations aren't romantic. They're intense, but in
Yeah.
a good way most often. But because usually if it goes till 2 a.m., it means you're not quitting on it, right?
That's
But like,
exactly the
but
part.
they're usually like,
Oh.
oh, man, that was a lot.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly what happened. At one point, I was like, I have to go to bed so we can get up and record this podcast. So I put my earplugs in. I rolled over. Had my Kindle. I was reading, and I couldn't even focus on what I was reading. I was like, God damn it!
See, because you're totally in it and you care. That's the romantic part.
Mm.
I can't speak to how it felt in the moment. The romantic part is you're bothered by it because you care. If your give a fuck was broken and you didn't care and you just rolled over and passed out, that would be not romantic.
Yep, my give a fuck is not broken. I ran out of my give a fucks one time, but I managed to get enough back to where we're operating
Right.
again.
That's fantastic.
My fuck bank went dry one time. I went bankrupt.
My clients know me well. One of my clients gave me a jar. It's this cute jar with a cork in it, and it says fucks to give, and it's filled with wooden fucks. Like it says fuck in wood, and it's full.
And you just give them?
I do. I gave
Love
them
it.
at a summit once. I was like, look, here's 3 fucks because you're 3 facilitators of this weekend. We do give a fuck, and we just gave you one each. So you can do with them what you will. Feel free to give a fuck elsewhere. That's what they're for. Pay them forward, pay them backwards. Doesn't matter, but here they are for you. And like, so Dan like keeps one in his wallet. When somebody asks him for something ridiculous, he's like, God damn it, just a minute. And he like shakes it out of his wallet. He's like, I'm down to my last one, but here, fine. You've taken everything else for me. Why not my last
That's-
fuck?
It's very dramatic.
Holy
Very
fuck,
funny.
that's amazing.
I love it.
It was like the best gift. I was just like, like as if you know me. It's almost like you know me.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like what you need to do at work is take a 5-gallon barrel and put one at the bottom. And then when somebody asks you for something, grab a flashlight, go to the barrel, shine it in there, go, you see that down there? This is the last one. Do you think what you're asking for is worth this very last one? It changes the perspective and it makes it funny.
It does. It totally
Right.
does.
I think humor is important,
Oh.
especially when it's sucking,
Oh.
you know?
Sucks. Like, yeah, the soul, the energy right out.
And retreats get heavy. So for us to just like, here you go, we're gonna make jokes about this all weekend long because we need to.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
So we were all coming in hot, busy, busy, busy. Springtime, a lot going on. Shoving a few recordings in back to back to back to back. So because we're all going to be traveling here in just a few weeks. And so what are we talking about? Busy, busy, busy?
Well, time management, right? Which bumps up right against all of that. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Right? It's busy versus productive, helpful. Yeah. I had, speaking of humor in the workplace, I used to draw 2 buckets on a whiteboard in my office. One I would label helpful, and the other one I would label not helpful. And it would just sit there. And people would come into my office to talk, and inevitably they would look over and glance at the whiteboard. And sometimes they would say, I'm going to come back. And I would say, well, what is it? I'd say, you know what? That wasn't helpful. I'll be back. So sometimes, you come with like a common idea, like don't come with a problem, come with a solution. Right. And that's wonderful. But sometimes you need to come with the problem and you don't know the solution, but you do your best, right? Where are you where's the highest place of service that you can come in at? And sometimes the person genuinely doesn't know the way out, but they want to share something. Other times it's just bitching and whining and gossiping. So that's the not helpful bucket. That's always a lovely illustration. Like no profanity needed either.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we tie that into time management, it's like hell yes and hell no. Or what are we talking about? Priorities.
Yeah.
It's such a huge piece of time management. There's nothing so useless as doing well that which does not need to be done.
Oh, amen. It's right. Everyone is busy, right? And our guest yesterday was talking about his clients who are busy, 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 right? John Mitchell's patients will come in and like everybody's busy. Well, right, you don't have. That's the thing about time management. You don't have a time problem. You have a priority problem. You have an energy problem. You have a focus problem. Time is a continuum. It's going to keep going. You have a you problem.
Indeed.
So what do we do about it? Or what else?
Oh, well, you got to make sure that you schedule everything in time blocks, and you got to make sure that you've got your task list, and there's going to be priorities, and micromanage every little thing, right?
Yes, and be sure to color code it too. That's really important. That's how you know you're getting it done and you're succeeding. Is if you've got like one of my clients had and one of my clients took pride in it. Very successful person who took pride in his checklists, having like different color paper, I shit you not, different markers to signify different types of tasks. And it felt amazing until we started working together and just destroyed them. It was like you could wipe yourself with it, or you could wipe your kitchen counter with it, because there's nothing of value, is what the discovery was at the end. Or there's like 3 items out of 25 that matter, and the rest is like If it's fun for you, do it. It's not like not a needle mover. It's not meaningful.
I think it depends on the person. I mean, I think for some people, that is a system that does work for them, that putting the time into creating that system is what gives them meaningful use of their time. I would use the word meaningful over productive because productive comes with expectations and all these different like layers of things for us. And some of that is because most of my clientele have tendencies toward guilt and shame. I'll just say it that way, right? And so I'm really careful with like reframing words and perspectives and things. I'm like, look, if you're a person that likes charts and spreadsheets and color coding and that brings you joy, go for it. Just make sure that what you're putting in them is meaningful and actually has a process for you that works. But if that's just a way for you to avoid doing the things that actually matter, well, that's a very different story.
Right.
And I think it's really hard to be honest and accurate with ourselves about those things, particularly when, like, I think back to the conversation with John. I think a lot of the busyness that he was talking about is tucked into pockets of space because we feel uncomfortable and we don't really want to do the work, or we don't really want to look. We're afraid to heal, for a generalized term. It's like we don't know what that's going to look like. That's so unknown. So we avoid it at all costs. And busyness is a great way to do that because it makes us feel good. We look good to the external world when we're busy.
Absolutely. And I agree with you, Michelle. Those systems are not to blame. They can be a wonderful help. It's like anything. It can be a tool or it could be a hindrance, right? A deflection. Another reason to say, well, I'm making my checklist. I don't have time. Like, what are you actually doing with your time? What you assign to it?
Yeah, I remember at one point I used to keep this little book in my pocket. It was a leather-bound book, and I can change the notepad out within it. And every time I would think of something that needed to be on the to-do list, I would write it down, write it down, write it down, write it down. And then by the time I was done, I had so many different buckets of different categories of tasks to do that it was overwhelming. To look at it brought just seriously large amounts of anxiety. I didn't have enough time, if I'd had an army, to get everything done that I'd written in that book. So then I would set up, I would have, okay, let's put 20 to-do items on my list for the day. And I would get 19 done, and then I would beat myself up over the one that didn't get done, rather than celebrating the 19 that did get done. And I find that many of us act that exact way. It's like when we look at it, instead of celebrating what we actually did accomplish, it's like, oh, I didn't get that one thing done. I'm such a piece of shit.
Love the way you say it. That should be a sound effect that people should have. Press a button. I'm such a piece of shit. Yeah, it's I wish I couldn't relate to what you just shared, but last year, this isn't like decades ago, sometime, I found myself in a place where I hired like an operations manager to help me organize my business, my to-dos, right? It's all the different lanes of life. He got overwhelmed by the length of my list, and it was his job to sort through my list. My list had over 800 items, line items, of very much like what I had accumulated over time, just like you said, but in Excel form instead of a paper book. And it was so much that in the end, what did I end up doing? I end up picking off the things that matter and just let the rest lie. Because clearly, if they mattered enough, I would have picked them up.
Yeah.
And so just picking up a handful, and that, beating yourself up on the one thing you didn't do, those celebrations of victories and little victories, micro mini steps, are so important. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because when we diminish ourselves and our accomplishments, we dim that light, and then we become smaller, and then we just sort of give up. And then we rob ourselves of joy that we could have had if we would have been high-fiving ourselves for all the things that we did and giving ourselves credit. And that we're not conditioned for that. That when I started the practice of that, it was very awkward, right? And it's awkward sometimes for my clients when they start, like, oh, I did do all these things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when what I find sometimes works is whatever you've gotten done in the day, like, keep that list. And at the end of the week, look at all the things that you did. and feel good.
Mhm. Yeah, it's almost like we run a race on a regular basis, and when we cross the finish line, we look at the finish line and go, I didn't run far enough. Let's keep going. There's a new finish line out there. So we just start running again.
Right. Right. When is it good enough to be present? When is it enough to be here now and not somewhere else
Yeah.
and not wish your whole life away?
I love the driving analogy and how so many of us, whenever we go on vacation, we plot that destination into our maps, and we get our route, and we try and beat whatever that time is that the Maps app puts up there. And so I got to get there as fast as possible. I just got to get there. And by the time we arrive, we're in such a frazzled state that it's not even fun. And I realized that I was doing that after a while. So I was like, why am I rushing all the time? This is not fun. So eventually I managed to create enough space to where whenever we travel, when we heading down the highway, if I see a brown sign, one of those nice landmark signs, we have enough room. We'll just pull off and go check it out. We've seen some really cool stuff that way. Some of the plantation homes out near New Orleans, and that Jefferson Davis plantation home out in Mississippi, and it was just seeing some really, really cool stuff. There's been a few museums that we passed that were really, really cool. It's just like the Bonnie and Clyde Museum up near Shreveport. That's such a cool thing to go see, and we didn't plan that. It just had enough space to go do it.
Right. That's over planning.
Well, and I was just thinking about like what you just said, Lee. Do you think that's part of the reason we plan everything out so much? Because like that too is filling the space. And then realizing like, oh, if we leave this open, right? If we leave it open, if we leave our path open, I'm speaking of the driving path, but let's be metaphorical as well while we're talking about it. It's like if we leave the path open, it leaves room for unexpected, but like the good unexpected, the stuff where it's like, hey, I actually want to go do that. I'm going to choose it. And there it is right in front of me. Like the easy unexpected. I think so much of like the work that we do can be like that unexpected, oh shit. But it also can be the unexpected aha, the unexpected celebration. I find it, Alina, to your point where you were talking about people celebrating their day, the stuff they did, the wins. I find it fascinating how many of us, myself included, like we miss the smallest wins so many times. We miss some of the big wins for ourselves because we just don't call it a win because we're hung up on the very minute, very detailed, very descriptive win. And it has to look that way. Otherwise, it's not a win for us. And like when you have like my favorite thing is having a conversation with someone, them pointing out something they saw that I did or that they see in me, and something that I had never considered, and then being like, damn, hang on, like I want to pause and celebrate that because this is what I do with other people. It's like, hey, do you realize what you just said is completely different than how you would have said that even 2 months ago? Let's like just pause and honor that. Like, wait, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, let's just reflect on that. Like, let's have a conversation about it. And then it's like, oh my God, there's been more shift than I even realized. And if you don't like take a pause to look and celebrate it, it's like, gosh, if we could just spend even pockets of time every day, spending our time, using our time, investing our time in that way, how much would the world change? How would we feel about ourselves? I feel like it would be so different.
Absolutely. We're talking about spaciousness as we're talking about, in juxtaposition to being busy, right?
Yeah.
The idea of, and to me, they absolutely go together. They dance. They have to dance because if there is no space, then what is there? There's burnout. There's burnout. You're not time deprived. You're just burnt out to a crisp. So that recovery time, whether you're on vacation and you leave space to discover something new, or, during the week, you leave time to take a 15-minute walk, right? Or walk away from your desk and eat a meal, not staring at your computer and working, but consciously eating and feeling your body, feeling kind of reintegrating, right? And that concept of recovery, whatever it looks like from person to person, from context to context, it's like that's not a luxury, right? We talk about leadership, that's a leadership competency. That recovery time, building it, iterating on it, learning how to do it. Otherwise, you're not good for very long. You don't make the best decisions.
You make such a great point. And what I heard in that is the pause. The pause. Some people hear the pause and they think, well, I'm not a lazy piece of shit. I don't want to just do nothing. It's like, that's not what the pause is. The pause doesn't mean you're just sitting doing nothing. The pause is intentional. The pause can be a 15-minute walk. The pause can be spending time with friends. The pause can be a million different things. The difference is it's intentional and it's for you. And I think that's what people like, just they have a disconnect around that. It's like, oh, the pause, lazy. I don't have time for a pause. It's like, well, maybe we should talk about the definition of pause.
Absolutely. Well, because that recovery, maybe recovery is a more comfortable word, but that pause allows the space so that you can be at your better self and not act out of scarcity and fear and like a little hamster in a wheel. Just get to the next thing until like you keel over and die, or live for the weekend. 3 more days until the weekend. It's hump day. Oh, Thursday, 1 more day. Happy Friday.
Well, if you look at the underlying belief to the lazy piece of shit idea, if I'm not doing things, then I'm not worthy. If I'm not accomplishing, then I don't matter. I'm a lazy piece of shit. What I'm doing doesn't matter. I'm not worthy. And holy fuck, is that a rat hole that you just can't climb out of?
Is that a rat hole that's ever present?
Yeah.
It is. Yes, you can. I agree, Michelle. You can climb out. And Lee, to your point, we're conditioned to stay in it.
Right.
The whole world conditions us. And the three of us live in totally different environments, right? Different geographic regions, different parts of the country. And we share that to, varying degrees. It looks different, but it's all the same.
Yeah, we seem to think that we're only valuable as people if we're constantly doing something.
Yes.
And something that others can see. It can't just be something that is to yours. It has to be something that the world, the external world can look at you and go, oh, look at her. She's busy. Oh, look at him. He's so successful. Oh, look at, it's like, yeah, do you have 20 minutes of time in your day? No, sorry, not successful in my book. Like, that's not how this looks,
Yeah, you're going to be a story one day, not the kind that you want to be, where your story won't be written. Yeah, it's sad, right? There's a righteousness in perceived productivity. Perceived. And then you're righteous. And, if you go inward, I love that point.
But I'm thinking about priorities right now and how important the word no is. But the only way we can say no is if we know exactly what we're saying yes to.
Oh,
I love that you brought that up.
I love that. Yes. Hell yes to that. I ran an offsite for a company that had acquired like 6 different companies in 2 years, right? So you have all these management teams and they all clash and they're all pulling in different direction. Like the egos are clashing, priorities are clashing, and they're all acting still like 7 distinct companies instead of coming together and rowing in one direction. So I proposed to the C-suite that I take all of the management teams. I said, let me lock them up for 2 days and we'll come out in better shape. And they let me do it. So I locked them up for 2 days. We had an offsite and literally there were 2 things that we were going to get done. There weren't even 3. I said, 1, you're going to know who the other person is, who everybody in this room is, and something personal about them. You're going to see human beings. You're going to make eye contact with them. And number 2, we're going to walk away with a list of 25 priorities for the next year, which means that we're going to say no to multiples of that number of initiatives, projects that we're going to say, no, not this year. No, not at all. We're going to do something with them because we're only picking 25 across all of us. That is so very important. Saying no is at least as important as saying yes. I love that you brought that up. Oh.
Yeah, kind of getting into talking about shiny object syndrome just a little bit. And how when we see that next shiny thing, it looks so much more brilliant than the thing we have already right now. So let's move on to the new thing. Oh, there's another shiny thing. Oh, let's do that. Oh, there's another shiny thing. Oh, let's go do that. The next thing you know, we've got this big just pile of crap that isn't ours.
Is it
Don't
a
even know
shiny?
what to do or where to go, or it's just completely overwhelming at that point.
But is it a shiny pile of crap?
Oh, it's so shiny.
But see, there's yes, yes, shiny object syndrome, and it's also important to leave room for sometimes it isn't a shiny object. Sometimes it does make sense to rearrange priorities and rearrange what we're focusing on, right? Like that shiny object might actually be super, super aligned, but it's new and it causes everything else to shift. So that discernment is really, really important because otherwise, yeah, you're right. You're just running around chasing.
Not everything that glitters is gold.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a turd that's shiny.
And then, then other people's gold is not our gold. So we have to decide what our gold is. What is our shiny object that we want to commit to? Because you only have room for a very, very select few.
Mm-hmm. Only so much energy that we have in a day. Where are we spending our energy? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. We have today and we have what is here. We can't really expand time. We can work on our energy. Can't really conquer time.
I think one of the biggest gifts we can give ourselves with regard to the like reevaluating our priorities, right? I have an ex-husband who used to say that all the time. It's time for me to reevaluate my priorities. Like he'd say it at work, he'd say it, and he was to inspire other people to do the same. It's like, hey, we've been super hyper focused, but I feel like one of the biggest gifts we can give ourselves is the ability to like pivot, to go with the flow, to be able to just like drop into a moment and go, wow, this isn't what I expected. A, that's your first problem, right? There was an expectation there that makes it harder. But B, like I'm okay with that. I get to navigate it from this point forward and see where we go and understand. I think I used to be really defined in what was okay for me. And I've learned over time that like the more open what is okay for me and what might have possibility that's a brilliant way to show up is just to be like, okay, I'm in curiosity mode. Like again, we're back to John. He was talking about being curious. It's like I get to be curious in this moment. I get to use my discernment and my resources in the room, so to speak. And then I get to decide where this lands in my perspective, scope. Where do we go from here? But I didn't used to be able to drop in. I didn't trust myself to drop in. I was terrified. I didn't want to do anything wrong. That perfectionism came in and I was like, fuck, I don't want to screw this up. I don't want to be bad. I want to be lovable. I want to be all the things. I had a whole list of, language internally that just was so hard. And I just think, gosh, if I can drop into a situation or a room or an experience and just go, all right, let's just see what this is. Like, let's see it accurately without all my bullshit in the way.
All that bullshit, right?
It's so much bullshit.
Oh yeah, perfectionism is one. I mean, people pleasing is another.
Well, I don't know about you, but like, have you ever been in a room where your way is the exact same way as anyone else in the room? And then we compare it and we tell ourselves we're doing it wrong. There must be something wrong with me. I must not be good enough. I must be doing it all wrong. I just had this conversation the other day. I was talking to someone, we were talking about like authority and how when you have that sort of power dynamic, they give you advice or they give you a prescription or they give you a thing and then it doesn't work for you. And then you claim yourself as the failure. What if you're not the failure? What if it wasn't for you? Like, why does that mean you're a failure? It doesn't. But we say it does. I find it just so interesting how we tick in the world. And the more I unpack and analyze and heal myself, the more I just look at things from such a different perspective. And I find it fascinating. I'm like, how are we all this way? Every human I've ever met does this. It's like, what? Why?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I think I don't know the whole answer, but part of it has got to be, it's an evolutionary response, right? For the sake of self-preservation, to be in group, in community. If you're going to be on your own, you die. So you have to conform. That there's a pressure, an evolutionary pressure to conform.
Yeah, because we can't be shunned from the community or the group, right? That's death.
That is death. So we have to conform. So it does come from a place of necessity.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, in some level, it was a rhetorical question, but I do find it it's like everyone.
Mm.
I mean,
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
blanket statement and a little, but I mean, really, human tendency is
Well, yeah.
predictable.
When
Oh,
we're
yeah.
children, when we're children, we mimic because that's all we know how to do. That's how we learn. We mimic others. But then many of us don't ever mature out of the mimicking stage and start to own our own, just our own authentic authority, just exactly like you said. So there's definitely a stage where you start to sprout and you start to flower and you start to bud on your own. If you look at any successful person, I read a lot of successful people's biographies. Every one of them did it their way. They started by mimicking others. And then after a certain point, they just went, well, that's not working for me. So I'm going to do it my way.
So many goosebumps. Like those are so
Yes.
loud. Like,
Jeff
yes,
Bezos.
100% yes.
Oh, y'all, now you back. Yeah, I was just thinking like Andrew Carnegie, Jeff Bezos, um, keep going, Steve Jobs.
Sure.
Just keep going down the list of so many different successful people. They all did it their way.
Sure. I think it's a much more nuanced, layered topic that we could spend a long time,
Mhm.
delving into. How do people, how do some people come to have their own path and be the mavericks?
Mhm.
Do
How do
you think
they set themselves apart? What is true about the way that they were raised, their conditions, or the way they're wired that makes it so?
I'm just curious if you think that's what keeps us so busy. We're trying everybody's way but ours.
Mhm.
I mean, that takes a lot of time. If I just think about like we're talking about busyness and time management and how we show up in the world, I just wonder how much of our busyness comes from throwing spaghetti at a wall. That's not ours. It's not our wall. It's not our spaghetti. It's not even nourishing for us. But here we are going, well, I mean, it worked for that person. Maybe I ought to try that.
Yeah,
And I get that we have to explore and figure it out. Like it's a science experiment on some level, right? We're in a lab and we got stuff to work with and we figure it out. But
we do. We do. There is room for, and I'm thinking about, a list that we have in our personal lives on weekends and with our families, the list that we have, in a large organization where we work in a company where there's rules and expectations and, certain accepted standards that you take on if you choose to accept to work there, right? Hours of operation, for example, or certain standing meetings that you really can't say no to if you're at a certain level of seniority. You really can't say no. So there are constraints that realistically people, if they choose to keep that employment that's valuable to them, that they're going to stay in. I think a realistic, measurable place where someone can make a difference is it's the smaller steps. It's within these constraints, where's your energy? Within these constraints, what do you want? What goals do you have for yourself? And today, in the next 3 hours, in the next 2 hours, what's going to be the most meaningful thing that you do, the most impactful? So when I say productive, to our earlier conversation, Michelle, you said you prefer to say meaningful over productive, and that makes sense because it is less judgmental, can be less judgmental. When I think productive, I kind of ascribe a meaning of productive toward what you truly want.
yeah, and it makes sense. I mean,
It's similar, like different roads leading to the same place. But it's like, what can you do in the next 30 minutes that's productive? You may not be in the position to control the entire day and all the flow, but you can do something about right where you are. So what can you do with what you have with where you are?
well, and I love that you brought up, because you kind of brought up, well, you did bring up like doing the things that you don't want to do is part of the job. You know what I mean? I think sometimes that stuff that we really don't want to do, but we know we actually, like, even if we use our discernment, we actually have to do some shit that sucks. We do
Yeah,
in life.
taxes.
Like, it's truth. You know what I mean? Like, we
Yes.
have to do it. And the
Yes.
amount of time we spend busying ourselves, so we put that, like, we procrastinated up to the very end. It's like, what if you just accept the reality that this is coming for you sooner or
Yeah.
later? So
Oh,
like, let's just get it done.
I
And I'm not
love,
saying like you have to do it right away. Procrastination is one thing. Avoiding it is a whole nother thing. Like if there's a reason, that's one thing. If you're literally just like, well, I don't want to do the thing that sucks because if I wait long enough, someone else will do it for me. Well, now you might fall into the category of a lazy piece of shit for me. Because if you're the person that'll see a bullet coming at you and go like this, not knowing or caring what's behind you, you're not my people. Like,
that's, yes. It's like taxes, right? Like you have to do it. Like I don't know many people who are into taxes and it's like aligned with their life purpose. There's things that you have to like wipe yourself, you have to take a shower, you
yeah.
have to eat. You've got to, it doesn't matter so much how you feel about it. You've just got to get it done. And if you get it done with, with ease and efficiency and clarity, then you'll feel good. It'll feel good because you've accomplished something, right? Like making the bed. So these are like literally the conversations I have with my kids. Like there are things that you may not feel inspired to do, but once you do them, your brain is set into motion and your identity has shifted to I'm a person who gets things done.
There's a saying, if you have to eat a frog, you don't want to have to stare at it too long.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a great book about
Never heard
prioritization.
that
I think that
saying.
book is called Eat the Frog.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like meaning whatever unpleasant, annoying thing that you're not looking forward to that you know you need to do it first, get it out of the way, and keep
Yeah.
on moving.
Like if you have to reprimand an employee, for example, this was a great example for whenever I was running my mechanic shop. If I had that in my head, no matter what task I was doing, that was on loop in my head, affecting everything I was doing up until I finally had that conversation. So I learned that just go have that conversation, get it done, eat that frog as fast as possible, swallow it, move on, because it will affect everything you do.
I love it. I love that example.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and talk about overthinking it. I mean, if you just stare at it, your brain does not just be still with it. You start overanalyzing and overthinking all the things about what's coming for you. It's
Mhm.
like, that was my whole point about like if something's coming at you that's dangerous or harmful, and there's a bunch of people behind you, and you're not willing to consider that you could be kind in being part of the solution and not just letting everybody else handle it. Like that's so frustrating for me.
Mm-hmm.
Good God Almighty.
That frog thing's gonna be in my face.
Eat the frog.
Funny to me today, but it's like, oh, I mean, there's so many ways, there's so many layers there. I love it.
No. Thinking about habit stacking right now. One of my favorite things to do is I get up in the morning and before I have the chance to think, I get I take all my vitamins, my supplements, and I go hop on the elliptical and I have my sunlight generator that I put on me. I have my whatever videos, whatever courses that I'm going through, whatever learning that I'm doing. I'm watching it while I'm on the elliptical. So I'm doing multiple things at the same time. I'm getting my education in, I'm doing the sunlight generator at the same time while taking care of my physical health as well. And you want to talk about get some shit done that way. It's phenomenal.
Because there's ease. You've injected ease
Hmm.
into it where you don't need to make decisions, right? And decision fatigue is a major roadblock. Major roadblock in getting things in productivity, non-toxic productivity, where it's actually meaningful. So it's a huge energy suck to have to reinvent the wheel every day. And so
Yeah.
what you just described, Lee, is there's a default setting and it's all stacked together neatly in this beautiful little elegant package. And it all gets done at certain time of day before other things. You're basically feeding yourself before you feed others. And that is hugely important. And it's a lesson that I've continued to learn over and over. And I work on my like morning routines and feeding me in whatever way that is. And that might be visualization, meditation, stretching, taking my supplements before I go and serve, right? Or doing a little bit of writing, journaling before I go out there and look at my schedule and like pay bills and schedule kids' appointments, all that good stuff. I love that. That's a really cool routine. Michelle, do you have a routine that you love and want to share?
My mornings are sacred, but they're couple connection time. Like in the morning, Dan and I, that's when we sit and have coffee together and we have just sometimes deep, meaningful conversation and sometimes just casual conversation. There's always a cuddle. You know what I mean? Like the hug and the kiss goodbye every morning. We're busy people. We are. We don't need a lot of like connection together. I need way more than he does even. And so but when we do have time together, it's quality. And that's an every morning thing for us. And I treasure those moments. And so that is just to be deeply connected with my partner in a very casual, there's no expectations there. We just do it. We just be together and it's beautiful. So that's a us routine, but it's very meaningful to me. I have ease in creating my own sacred rituals and my practices. I have to have that to do what I do in energy work, especially. And so that's just sort of locked in for me and it's sacred in its own way. But that is something for me that is, I don't know. I think human connection is way more important to me than I ever realized. Because I can be aloof at times. So maybe you wouldn't know that about me, but I can just be like, yeah, fuck it, man. I just want to go be by myself. Um, but the deep, meaningful connections, they matter. It's why this podcast matters to me so much. It's like, I said it before, like, this isn't work to me. This is like meaningful soul stuff for me. And those kind of rituals are what I think about more often than not these days. Because the internal stuff, it took me a long time to work toward it and to lock it in and integrate it. But I got that now. And when you involve other humans, it's harder because they have to be active participants. They have to be willing participants. They have to want it too, you know? So I treasure that.
It's beautiful. And, there's a thread that's coming up, and it's spiritual. It feeds your soul. It feeds your body. It feeds your productivity. And that's it. The question to anybody watching, listening is, what do you hold sacred? What is a non-negotiable in your day, in your week, that absolutely nobody and nothing will stand in the way of? I love that you've just named some of those things. Like,
Yeah.
nothing.
And to be
will
fair, like there might be days where it does not happen because one of us has to leave ridiculously early or something. But I don't get mad about that either because we're both very intentional about it. It means something to us. And I don't know. I believe it. I think for the first time in my life, I'm in a place where I can truly believe the connection it is. And I think I had so many wounds and pain points and fears of rejection and abandonment and neglect and all that shit that I didn't allow myself to really open to that. So to be open to that, like that, it's like when you don't have it and then you find it, it's a different, I don't know, it has different meaning. It has a deeper, there's something more, and it's outside of like my human self, it feels, which just sounds, I'm going far away, but it matters that much. I'll just say that.
That's beautiful.
I do
Yes.
think it's important to have that same thing with yourself, right? To have that soul level, like I matter enough to take this moment for myself to feel those same exact feelings only with myself and to evaluate what that might look like for me. And I do that all the time.
Something about what you said reminded me of something that Sean Harvey told me. Sean Harvey, we had on episode 17. He allows nothing inside of his schedule until 10 a.m.
I think I remember
Complete,
him talking about
yeah,
that.
complete blockout. Nothing is allowed to distract him from whatever work that deep work that he does, the writing or the planning, whatever it is he's chosen to spend his time on. Nothing interrupts that until 10 a.m. Then he allows himself to open up and see the rest of the world. But it's going to take care of the really, really important stuff first, whenever the energy's highest, whenever the brain is at its most focused. And I find that some people I'm thinking about, I think we'll have DTK on here eventually. It seems like based on what he's told me, he works best after everybody else goes to bed at night. And that's his most undistracted focus time is, 10, 11, 12 at night. He sent me messages before at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? But because that's not for me. For me, I get up 5, 6 a.m. and that's whenever I'm on. So part of it is knowing ourselves and knowing what it is we need and holding that time as sacred, allowing nothing else in so that we can do the things that are really, really important to us.
That is such a key piece. Like knowing, like as you were speaking, I'm like, yeah, knowing what is your best times, what works best for you. How do you tick? How do you operate? I think the other thing for me is like that afternoon, like slump. Like I don't want, there's certain things I just like, nope, I can't do that. Well, I could, but I'm not going to show up as my best self in that time frame. Especially, I mean, you got to know your day and know your week, but there are just times where I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that at 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. Like that's not good times for me. But early morning and late evening, sometimes those are my best times of day, but that's fluid for me too. So like I gotta know, I gotta really listen. And I think that discernment is so important. I love that. Like you recognize that pattern and like you brought that so forward because that matters so much. Because we're back to that place of like somebody telling me what to do based on what works for them. Like I might be able to do the exact same thing and have it work for me, but it can't be at 5 a.m. It has to be at 11 p.m. So many moving parts. Always.
So I'm curious, were y'all able to put some top 3 together on the fly?
I can do it on the fly.
We do it on the fly. Yeah. Let's do it.
I love that we didn't really truly commit to a topic and we still managed to open up a great conversation anyway.
That's what we do, right? Like that's us. Like this is what I love this about us. We just get together and have awesome conversations, right? When we started talking, right? Before the podcast, we had a WhatsApp group, right? And that WhatsApp group we named Magic Coaching Conversations because they were magical. They were just like the magic would appear. We would just make it happen every time. And this is before we recorded.
Indeed.
I appreciate that about us. Yeah. So top 3?
Let's do it.
Time management is such a often overused term that we hear everywhere all the time. It's such a buzzword that people have almost become desensitized to it. And there is advice everywhere you look on how to manage your time. And here's the thing to remember, that you don't have a time problem. You have a priority problem. You have a boundary problem and you have a focus problem. That's what the problem is. It's not the time problem. Where you expend your energy, where you focus it, is the most important part of the day. And to know the answer to where you want to focus it, you've got to know what you really want. Of course, what do you want holistically? Like, what do you want your life to have meant? What do you want to have accomplished this year, this week, and this day? So what's going to matter to you? What's important? That's really, really important. There are energy drains everywhere you go. People pleasing, perfectionism will get you every time. Energy drains of being sucked into meetings, sucked into commitments unconsciously. And so lack of intentionality will also often be a stumbling block. So that discernment of where are you spending your energy and making that choice wherever you are able to make that choice. Now, understanding, of course, there are constraints. When you work in a corporate environment, you work with teams, you're going to have meetings that you need to go to. You're going to have hours of operation that you need to be committed to. Within those constraints, evaluate, where do you function your best? Is after hours, evening time, your most creative time? Is it first thing in the morning? Is it right before lunch? What is that time? Another thing to keep in mind is saying no. Saying no is at least as important as saying yes. That is what makes and breaks you. When you're allowing yourself to kind of go with the flow all too often and don't remember who you are and what you're for and what's important, life will just take over and other people's priorities will become your default priorities. And you won't matter as much and you will be in service of whatever's coming at you. And so developing that discernment, building that muscle within ourselves to draw our own boundaries of what we're saying yes and no to is absolutely critical. Feeding yourself before feeding others is also really important. And what I mean by that is when you wake up in the morning or some part of the day, but for many people it is when they first wake up, what will feed you, your soul, what you need? It might be an exercise routine. It might be sacred time with a loved one. It might be journaling, meditating, going for a run, time with kids, whatever that is. Feed yourself first. And it's a beautiful burnout prevention technique. Now, I just mentioned sacred, and that's a really important part of time management. What do you hold most sacred? What is an absolute non-negotiable for you in a week, in a month, in a day? What do you need to feel complete, to feel right with yourself? That's about it. So much more to say.
Time management. I'm going to riff off of a thing I saw on Instagram this morning because it cracked me up to no end. Consider the possibility that you can create more time in your schedule simply by using a word that so many people mispronounce. No. It can look like fuck no, fuck that, no, ain't gonna happen. It can look a lot of different ways, but we all mispronounce it because we forget how to say it. This lady did this whole riff on it and I was dying laughing. The word no can create time and space for you. We just have to be willing to use it and to say it out loud. So that's like number one on time management. I think another really key point of time is that I find a lot of people get really rigid in their time management, and the world is ever changing. Each moment is different, right? We can't step in the same river twice. I've said that before. So if there's things coming at us or for us that we aren't willing to be flexible to get out of our, and we resist those things, sometimes we have to shift. Sometimes we have to pivot. And so to consider the possibility that you could have a little more openness, a little more flexibility, and a little more build the muscle to shift. Because to be really rigid in your structure sometimes isn't actually saving you time. The structure is great, but it doesn't always actually save you time if you are super focused on it. And then when the world is ever changing and comes around you, we sometimes just have to pivot. I've had to accept that over time. Third, time management. I feel like it's really getting to know yourself and what your priorities are and being willing for those to change too. I think if there's one thing I'm hearing in our conversation is that the world is fluid. Change is inevitable. It happens all the time. So the more we can consider the possibility that it might work for me today, but it might not work for me tomorrow. It might work for me in the morning, but the day might fall apart. And is it really falling apart if you're intentional and meaningful with your time? I would say maybe not. It's just that we look at it a certain kind of way. And so I think all I'm saying is flexibility and openness and stop being so damn hard on yourself. Time is going away and it's coming, right? Like it's here and it's then and it's before and after and everything in between. And it's not a replenishable resource. We don't know how much time we have. We don't know how much time, we don't know how long meetings are going to go. We don't have control over all that stuff. So if you get too rigid, it gets real frustrating real quickly. So Flexibility is good. And the word no is, it can save you so much time.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to time management, God, you just reminded me that the greatest wealth that we have as human beings is the freedom to choose. And if we don't have that freedom, we've absolutely exhausted ourselves. Oh, what a terrible place to come from. All right, my number one for time management is going to be priorities and commitment. So if we don't know what a winning day looks like, we can never do enough. We will never do enough if we don't know what it looks like to win our day. And I use a priority bucket as a way to visualize this. And many times, whenever we have our bucket of time that is the day, we could fill this bucket with boulders, rocks, pebbles, sand, and water. And many of us will put the sand in first, and then there's no more room for the boulders, the really big priorities. So I like to choose 3 big boulders, and I put those in there first, and only those go in the bucket. And then all the other smaller things, the pebbles, the rocks, the sand, naturally just kind of flow around them. And that's that flow that you were talking about, Michelle, being able to adapt and react to the moment. If we have that kind of free space because we've chosen our 3 big boulders and put those in there first and accomplished that, once those things are done, we've won. That's it. We could celebrate, we could pat ourselves on the back. And if we still have time to get to the rocks and the sand, great. If not, well, they didn't matter that much anyway. Point number 2, I love this exercise for my clients when we start to talk about what it is they truly want and starting to create those priorities. Many times we get stuck in habits of this particular piece of my life was missing. I started to focus on it and I've only focused on that. And we get stuck on that exact focus. And whenever I run clients through the wheel of life, we start to grade 8 different categories of life. And then whenever we look at it, they go, wow, I've been stuck focusing on this priority, but actually what was missing was something else completely. Great example to help drive this point home was I was talking to a guy one time and he was very, very discontent in his career and he thought he needed to get a divorce. So it was crazy that to think, but our brain does that. We have this really weird cognitive bias. When we have discontent in one area, we will then project that into places that are a little bit, I don't know, more comfortable. Because it can't be my career, right? I just know I'm discontent. So Wheel of Life, we got 8 categories and we can rank them 1 through 10. 10 being I'm very satisfied in this, 1 being I'm very dissatisfied. Family and friends. Are we spending time with family and friends, the people that really matter to us? Number 2, significant other and romance. Do we have the romance, that deep connection that Michelle was talking about earlier? Number 3, fun and recreation. Because we humans thrive on play. If we're not playing, we're not really living up to our potential as human beings. Because when we play, we set our nervous system at a state to where we're just better people all around. We're more productive, more efficient, and just more fun to be around. Number 4, health. Health is one of those things that it's hard to really truly appreciate it until you lose it. And then when it's gone, that's all that matters. Number 5, money, and specifically our relationship with money. Because we can have that. How many millionaires and billionaires think, I just need more money? It's our relationship with money that really, really matters. Next, number 6 is personal growth. Are we growing as people? Because we sit still, we're dying. If we're not growing, we're dying. Number 7 is our physical environment. I don't know about y'all, but if my environment is in chaos, my brain is in chaos. And then last but not least, number 8 is career. I notice a lot of people get stuck thinking about career and they forget about a lot of these other things. So that was number 2 is the wheel of life. Play it back slow if you have to, go through and number each thing. Last but not least, I'll make this one a little bit quicker. I do blank because I want blank. And then take that a step further. I want blank because I really want blank. And doing that exercise will help enlighten you in a way that I do all these things and I don't even know why I do them. Now all of a sudden we have the opportunity to say that no that Michelle was talking about, because that no is unbelievably important, because yes and no are the same thing. If you say yes to something, that means you have to say no to everything that is not that. So being very, very careful what we say yes to. I do blank because I want blank. Oh, that's a whole new level. And that's that, yeah.
I feel like we made good use of our time today.
Time well spent.
Yeah, time well invested. I'm happy with this time. It's funny, this morning when I was thinking about tomorrow, my happenings tomorrow, I was so tempted to be like, I don't have time. I don't have time. And then I was like, it's an hour, Michelle. You do have time, and this fills your soul. And that was it. That was the end of the conversation. But I had that split moment of like, wow, I had a long day yesterday, and I'm going to have a long day today. And I could say no, but I don't want to.
Tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we share that, right? In preparation for all the travels that we're doing and about to do, there's that compression. So the topic is oh so timely as we get to live it and practice it and refine it for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. I'm trying to produce 3 episodes in 1 week rather than just an episode in a week, because I want to make sure I've got everything ready to go, because I know when I travel and then I return, that week that I return, I'm so busy that I'm not going to have a lot of time to be able to produce. I'm trying to make sure that I have my priorities are lined out, right? I know this is a high priority for me, so get it done. That way I can not freak out when I get home. I can have a little bit of free space.
Yeah,
And
preemptively giving yourself grace.
Yeah, well, that, and just if that is on the back of my head, I need to be doing that. I need to be doing that. I need to be doing that.
Right.
It affects everything that happens
Sure.
from that point on. So I'm going to leadership retreat next week. And if I'm thinking the whole time, oh man, I really need to be producing the podcast, it's going to detract from that retreat.
Yeah, it takes you out of the present moment.
Right.
You can be in the present moment when you're thinking about your future, what you should do, your future shoulds.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I tell you what, I'm going to eat that frog.
Yay.
That's exciting.
Thank you. I'm sending the graphics today for what we've got to date, and then we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Cool.
Nice.
Okay, I hit debutante.
I hit debutante.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to That's a Great Point with Alina Doran, Michelle Albers, and Lee Smart. To find out more about how we can serve you, check out our links in the show description. Thanks for playing along.